Depression and suicide rates in the U.S. have gone up in recent years. Young people, 16 to 25 specifically, have risen much more than any other group. As someone with experience in mental illnesses, with my family and my friends specifically, I was interested in the possible reasons for this rise, and if I had any way that I could possibly help solve it. Everyone here either uses social media or interacts with people who use it frequently, be it Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, etc. I would like to share with you the possible link between the rise of social media and the rise of mental health issues. There are many different mental illnesses in this world. Let's start with one that most people know of: depression. Depression has existed since ancient times, long before anyone knew what it meant to have it, what it caused, what it did, or even had a name for it. With the rise of science and medicine, we've learned much more about it, but it is still relatively unknown how exactly it works. Many people have learned that at least something about it in recent years, likely because of the amount of people who have it. Depression is a negative mood change because of a chemical imbalance in your brain, causing impairment in your life. The indirectness of social media such as Twitter causes depressive behaviors because their connections with people are not face-to-face, so there's a disconnect. This disconnect can cause loneliness and a feeling of isolation. Reducing your use of social media actually makes you feel less lonely, says Melissa Hunt, who researched the benefits of less social media on the mental state of young people at the University of Pennsylvania. There are symptoms of depression that you could possibly use to see if you or someone you know could have it. Some of these symptoms include persistent sadness, loss of interest in things, changes in your sleep pattern, appetite, energy level, concentration, self-esteem, and thoughts of suicide. Depression is a huge link to suicide and is a massive cause of many suicides. Let's look at another illness that is much more common and less dangerous, but still very important to be aware of: anxiety. Anxiety is a much more common mental disorder and is usually not as severe as something like depression, but they usually go hand in hand. One of the most common forms of anxiety this is social anxiety, the condition where you have irrational fears due to social interaction. The disconnect of communicating through a screen can cause irrational fears or worries of things such as, what are they thinking? Or, why didn't I get as much likes as this other person did? These problems do not exist in real-life interactions, or if they do, they're very easy to solve. But the impersonality of speaking through the internet or on some kind of social media allows these questions to become commonplace. Generalized anxiety can cause situations that are stressful to young people online become much worse. Say you text someone and you invite them on a date or to hang out. This is a very stressful situation normally, but with an anxious personality, you will worry about it much more. When you're using something like Snapchat to ask someone on a date or hang out, you have to wait for them to open your message and give you a response, as compared to you asking them face-to-face, where they give you an answer almost immediately, and it is much harder to misconstrue what they possibly could have meant. If you've ever experienced any of these thoughts, such as believing that something you received was lucky, or that you don't deserve it, or that someone else deserved it, you've experienced imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where you feel as though you don't deserve what you've earned. Everyone has suffered from imposter syndrome at some point, whether you feel as if your job promotion was undeserved, or you've received something out of pure chance but you don't believe that you deserved it. As young people are posting photos of themselves and their experiences on things like Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, they are susceptible to things that lead to cyberbullying and can receive hate from people who are anonymous, which can lead to situations where they will become that anything that they are told anything that they've achieved is not deserved, or it wasn't fair that they received it. The anonymity of the internet very poorly affects the mental health of everyone who uses it and receives hate, especially teenagers and young adults. Teenagers are much more likely to have their self-esteem hurt or their self-image shattered because of hate from any source. So when they receive messages or Snapchats or direct messages, they're much more likely to develop imposter syndrome and believe that whatever they're being told is true, even if it isn't. We have learned that depression is a mental disorder that is worsened by the isolation that the brain feels when communicating with someone you can't see, because you're doing something such as using the internet or talking to them on the phone to speak with them. Anxiety can make any situation that is bad much worse, especially when you aren't in personal contact with anyone that you could possibly be speaking to. Imposter syndrome, although commonplace, is worsened and made to be much more common by the rise of social media. Thank you.